Welcome back to the Political Beat at lfpress.com. I am Pat, and this is the freshly awoken Chip Martin, who's been terribly bored as we prepared to do this video, but I think you're ready to go now, right?
I'm awake.
And we've got so much great stuff to talk about. Actually, we got some pretty good stuff to talk about today. Kind of overselling it maybe, but...
Yeah, well, this is really boosting the ratings.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely turn up the volume. There's lots of great stuff.
Boris, are the overnights in yet from last week where Patrick here predicted there was going to be a huge jump in viewership?
Oh, did you hear we were canceled?
Well, canceled? No,
we got canceled, yeah.
Hopefully.
Billy T's, the restaurant imbroglio, the ombudsman's investigation, the legal bill has come in. It's $97,000 that taxpayers are paying for the lawyers that the 7 London City Council members hired to protect them during the ombudsman's investigation. I am so sick of writing about this story. I can only assume people are sick of reading about it. But I think one thing that's worth noting, just as an upshot kind of at the end of it, is like they needed a lawyer. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it was very wise for them to hire a lawyer because the ombudsman put them under oath, and he does indeed have the power to fine or jail them, which, now, to be clear, he has made it clear that in the 37 years of the office's existence, they've never done anything like that. I'm just saying he could, and if I was in that position, I'd want a lawyer. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't want a Bay Street lawyer, but I'd want a lawyer.
Cut away everything else. They're sucking and blowing at the same time. Either they discussed council business there, which they said they didn't, and therefore, why did they need to hire lawyers if there was no council business involved, right?
Right.
On the other hand, if they did do business, then I could see possibly hiring a lawyer because it's an illegal meeting. I mean, why? That's cut everything else away. Either it was an illegal meeting or it wasn't. They are hiring lawyers, which suggests to me there's a consciousness of guilt.
I don't know about that, but since everything that's interesting about the story has been beaten to death, let's focus on the...
We can beat it some more.
Yeah, the focus on the ombudsman's reaction to it, his behavior, how he behaves in terms of... no, hold on, hear me out. He goes on Twitter and he's sort of mocking the councillors. He's on radio shows. He was on Craig Needle's radio show. Very pointed criticisms. I encourage it. I think it's great. I wish more bureaucrats were just like that. I wish there were more bureaucrats who said, you know what, I'm going to tell the truth, and I'm not going to sort of varnish it. I'm just going to lambaste some of my elected masters. I like it. I'm all for it.
Well, okay. I agree with that. It's very unbureaucratic and very...
In a good way.
Well, yes, but it's like people trying to establish rules in a knife fight. There's really... they're operating, he's compensating for the fact that he can't and won't do anything serious to these people. Even though he comes back and threatens and rattles the saber, nothing's going on. So let's tweet away, let's blast away, let's have a press conference, let's do all this stuff.
But does it affect his legitimacy when he does that?
I think it undermines him somewhat. I know it's the only tool he has is shaming, public shaming, but it's too bad there isn't a better system.
As a very wise former hockey player once said, if you can't lead the league in scoring, then lead it in penalty minutes. And I think that's the kind of advice.
Was that your Uncle Dan?
Yeah, actually it was, yeah. But that's the kind of it seems that's the sort of philosophy the ombudsman has. Well, I can't really do much, so I'm going to just get the steel chair out here and maybe get disqualified, but in the process, but so be it. I personally like it, and I sort of wish that there were more bureaucrats. I understand why there's not, because, you're just a regular Joe, right? You're doing your job, but I sort of wish that there were, and I think that he has a lot more in common with journalists than many of his critics in journalism would maybe care to admit.
I agree. He's a godsend for journalists, but is he achieving results with respect to the performance of local elected municipal officials and private meetings?
Yes, he is.
You think so?
Yeah, he's got people awakened to the notion that, hey, you're not supposed to meet when you're away from City Hall. Everybody knows that now.
But they're still meeting.
Well,
and I expect this group probably will meet again.
I won't say about that, I guess.
We'll see.
Let's leave it alone. Old South, no, more specifically, Wortley Village and NIMBYism reared its ugly head, sort of kind of at the planning committee, although I think that the right decision was made in the end. Walk us through what the issue was, Chip.
Well, there's a bungalow at 122 Wortley, which a couple of gentlemen who live in South London want to tear down and replace with a 7-unit condo development. That's a rather boxy outfit that's 3 stories high. It's a nicely designed building, and they wanted to plunk it there just north of one of the main intersections in Wortley Village, just north of Craig and Wortley on the easterly side. Would have a beautiful view over Thames Park, and I think of the downtown skyline as well. They spent some time and effort. It's not a shoebox or anything. At any rate, there was some opposition to the neighborhood, from the neighborhood to it. NIMBYism, yeah. I think it's good for the neighborhood because it's a real gem. It was voted the best neighborhood in the country. People are very possessive about it, and understandably so. They're obviously doing something right there. I lived right in the very, very heart there, just south of Askin on Wortley for a number of years, many years ago. And it's nice that there's new investment and regeneration going on there. But when people were saying it doesn't fit with the character of the neighborhood, that neighborhood, as the one planner said at City Hall, is very eclectic. It's not really like a Talbot streetscape that everything is the same. There's a lot of different designs and buildings in there, and that's what makes it so vibrant and so interesting. And at the end of the day, the planning committee looked at it and said, yes, there's some opposition, some NIMBY people, and they said at the end of the day, and I think they made the right decision, that this thing should go ahead. It has to go to council, of course, on Tuesday for final approval, but it's a nice looking building.
I lived in that neighborhood too, not as long ago as you did, but I think it's a great neighborhood, and I think part of what makes it great is precisely what you saw there, is that there are people who get very, very involved, very, very impassioned about what you would consider to be details other neighborhoods may just not worry about, like the design, the shape, the size, the look of a development. So count your blessings that somebody wants to invest there. But if you remember a couple of years ago, Dave Tennant, who was a builder, he ended up building mixed use, sort of like retail on the ground floor, and then there's 4 or 5 floors.
At the former church site?
It was like a dust bowl. It was just like a dirt parking lot.
Okay, yeah.
But it's right on Wortley Road. And lots of opposition to that, huge opposition to it, and I think it looks great. I think the building looks amazing, and it's really added a little renewal to Wortley Village, which I think is great.
The interesting thing, though, and it's coming up all the time now, we saw it with Arne Kaplansky and his plan for a Cajun restaurant on Oxford Street, and now the politicians are getting into it too. Bud Polhill, for instance, was suggesting that the way to have everybody embrace it was to add some dormer windows to it. Well, I'm no expert in architecture, and certainly Bud Polhill is a wonderful mechanic, but when the politicians like Bud start saying, well, we should tweak this design and change that design, quite frankly, I think that's going a little bit beyond what politicians should be doing.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There's a little bit of micromanaging going on there.
Way too much micromanaging.
But I will also say that everybody agrees that infill development, which is taking space in existing neighborhoods and building it, is a great idea.
Great idea.
Unless
it uses existing services.
Unless the infill development is in their neighborhood. Then it's not such a great idea.
Well, that's the problem. Infill's a great idea, but every time you do it, you run into some NIMBYism. And I've told you about NIMBY and NIMBY Note.
NIMBY and NIMBY Note. NIMBY is not in my backyard.
And NIMBY Note is not in my backyard, and not over there either.
Oh.
So it sort of extends a little bit beyond the right next door.
That's good. Okay, what else we got? Brandon Prust wants to beat you up, but we're not going to get into that. We got the State of the City address. I don't really want to talk about that. Maybe we'll finish off with the update, just a little roundup on some of the candidates who have entered the 2014 election. Sandy White has filed her papers to formally seek a second term in Ward 14, and she will be against Jared Zafman, who she beat by a scant 162
or something.
Oh, I thought it was whatever. It's 100 and something votes.
Very close race last time.
So that'll be like
it's a rematch,
grudge match. I think that'll be really interesting, and that actually might be one of the more
interesting
races. I think.
Yeah,
Shaping up
very
certainly
interesting.
So far.
Very interesting.
We have a woman named Anna Hopkins, who we wrote about this week, who is the she had fought against the Reservoir Hill development, which is next to her house, and lost.
Right next door, right.
Now she's running against Dale Henderson, so that will also be very interesting. And she is keenly interested in planning matters.
She was heavily involved in the Urban League, and she's been involved in planning issues for a long, long, long time. Anna Hopkins is, I think, a pretty good candidate to be running for council.
Yeah. And
a woman, which brings up the issue about how many women are running, given the fact that so many have decided to step down. So that's also a good move.
Yeah, there's quite a few females running already. There's a woman named Virginia Radley in, I think, Ward 9 or Ward 10. And there was a guy. Who's the guy running for mayor? He's not going to win, but who is it? Mr. Jim?
This Mr. Jim, he's an artist. He wants to paint the town green. He's the Green Party candidate, or not a Green Party candidate, but he comes from the Green Party side. ride, and he drives a school bus right now, and he wants to take London to places we haven't been before, take advantage of renewable energy, wind power, solar, bioenergy, biomass, and all that sort of stuff. And very interesting fellow to speak to. Apparently he's known as Mr. Jim because he's popular with school kids, and as I say, he's an artist and he wants to paint the town green. We've never had a green mayor before. It's difficult for green candidates to get elected to anything in this country, so I think he has an uphill fight.
Anybody else running yet? I don't think so. I mean, there's a few other people, but no one that the viewers would actually recognize their names, I don't think.
For any office?
Yeah, for any of the awards. I think that's got it covered.
Nah, pretty well. We again encourage anyone that is thinking of running or has a tip about somebody running to call the election hotline right here.
Yeah, call us immediately.
24/7.
Yeah, that hotline's always on.
Pat is by that phone 24/7.
At all times.
God bless you, buddy.
Right on. Thanks for watching on behalf of Chip, and we'll see you next time at elecpress.com.